There's a handwritten note in the Rock's office that represents the most important promise he's ever made. It's not a business contract or a movie deal, it's a promise to his daughter that changed how he thinks about success, family, and the kind of man he wants to be. The promise came after she asked him a question that no interviewer, no business partner, no one in Hollywood had ever asked him. A question that made him realize his biggest success was also his biggest failure. March 17, 2018, 8:30 p.m. Dwayne Johnson was sitting on the edge of his 7-year-old daughter Jasmine's bed, reading her favorite bedtime story, a tale about a brave knight who traveled the world helping people but never spent time at his own castle. It was a story they'd read dozens of times before, but that night, Jasmine interrupted him with a question that would change the trajectory of his entire life. "Daddy," she said, looking up at him with the kind of innocence that cuts straight through adult pretenses, "are you like the knight in the story?" Dwayne smiled, thinking she was making a connection between his movie roles and the heroic character in the book. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "The knight helps everyone else, but he's never home." "Are you never home because you're helping other people?" The question hit Dwayne like a physical blow. In that moment, through the eyes of his 7-year-old daughter, he saw the uncomfortable truth about his life. He had become so focused on building his career and helping others succeed that he was failing at the most important job he'd ever had, being a present father. Jasmine continued, her small voice carrying a weight that seemed impossible for someone so young. "Mommy says you work so hard because you love us, but I wish you loved us at home more." Dwayne felt tears welling up in his eyes as he realized what his daughter was really saying. Despite all his success, all his achievements, all the money he was making to provide for his family, his own child was asking for the one thing he wasn't giving her enough of, his time and presence. "Jasmine," he said, his voice slightly shaky, "Daddy does love you at home. But you're right, I haven't been home enough. That's going to change." "Promise?" she asked, with the seriousness that only children can bring to the most important questions. "I promise," Dwayne replied. "But I need you to help me understand what that means to you. What would make you feel like Daddy loves you at home more?" What followed was a conversation that would reshape not just Dwayne's family life, but his entire approach to business and success. Jasmine's answers were simple but profound. She wanted him to be there for breakfast more often. She wanted him to help with her homework. She wanted to know about his day, not just hear about it on TV or from other people. Most importantly, she wanted to feel like she was as important to him as his work. "Daddy," she said, "when you're here but looking at your phone, it feels like you're still helping other people instead of us." That night, after Jasmine fell asleep, Dwayne sat in his home office and wrote down everything his daughter had said. But more than that, he forced himself to confront some uncomfortable truths about the life he'd built. He was working constantly, not just on movies but on business deals, endorsements, social media, and various projects that kept him connected to work even when he was physically at home. He justified this by telling himself he was building security and opportunities for his family, but Jasmine's question had revealed that his family didn't need more security, they needed more of him. The realization was both heartbreaking and liberating. Heartbreaking because he understood that in pursuing success to provide for his family, he'd been depriving them of what they actually wanted most. Liberating because he finally understood what needed to change. But changing wasn't going to be simple. Dwayne's career in 2018 was at its peak. He was the highest-paid actor in Hollywood, with movie commitments scheduled years in advance, business opportunities that required constant attention, and a social media presence that demanded daily engagement. The promise he made to Jasmine would require him to fundamentally restructure how he approached work and success. The next morning, Dwayne called an emergency meeting with his entire team, his agents, managers, business partners, and key employees from his production company. The meeting would become legendary in Hollywood circles, not because of any business deal that was struck, but because of the radical shift in priorities it represented. "I need to tell you all something," Dwayne began, "and I need your help to make some changes that might seem crazy from a business perspective." He explained Jasmine's question and his realization about the cost of his success. Then he outlined a series of changes that would shock everyone in the room. First, he wanted to restructure his movie commitments to ensure he was never away from home for more than 2 weeks at a time. This would mean turning down certain projects, negotiating unusual filming schedules, and potentially costing himself millions of dollars in opportunities. Second, he wanted to establish family hours, specific times each day when he would be completely unavailable for business calls, emails, or meetings. No exceptions, regardless of how important the opportunity might seem. Third, he wanted to bring his family into his business decisions in age-appropriate ways, so his daughters could understand what he did and feel included in his success rather than excluded by it. His business manager, Marcus Sterling, was the first to speak up. "Dwayne, I understand the sentiment, but some of these changes could cost you tens of millions of dollars. Are you sure you want to make these kinds of sacrifices?" "Marcus," Dwayne replied, "what's the point of making tens of millions of dollars if I lose my family in the process? Besides, I have a feeling that being a better father might actually make me better at business too." The transformation that followed proved Dwayne's instinct correct in ways that no one anticipated. Instead of hurting his career, the changes he made to prioritize family time actually enhanced his professional success. The constraint of having less time available made him more selective about opportunities, which led to him choosing higher quality projects. The emotional fulfillment he gained from being more present with his family gave him more authentic material for his social media content, which increased his engagement and value to brands. Most surprisingly, involving his daughters in his business decisions, explaining his choices and asking for their perspectives, led to insights that improved his projects. When he was considering the script for Jumanji, The Next Level, he read parts of it to Jasmine and asked what she thought. Her feedback about which parts were boring and which parts were exciting helped him identify script issues that adult executives had missed. When he was developing his Terramana tequila brand, he explained the concept to his daughters in simple terms and asked them what they thought the brand should represent. Their answers about family, celebration, and bringing people together became core elements of the brand's marketing strategy. But the most significant change was in how Dwayne approached the balance between ambition and contentment. Before Jasmine's question, Dwayne had been driven by a constant need to achieve more, earn more, and build bigger. He was always looking toward the next goal, the next milestone, the next level of success. This drive had served him well professionally, but it had also made it difficult for him to be present and satisfied with what he already had. After making his promise to Jasmine, Dwayne learned to find fulfillment in the success he'd already achieved while still maintaining his ambition for future growth. He became more strategic about his goals, focusing on projects that aligned with his values and allowed him to maintain his family commitments. The handwritten note that sits in his office is the promise he wrote down that night after his conversation with Jasmine. It reads, "I promise to be the kind of father who is present, not just providing. I promise to value our time together as much as I value any business opportunity. I promise to include you in my success so you feel like partners in it, not victims of it. I promise to remember that the love of my family is the foundation of everything else I build." But the real test of this promise came 6 months later, when Dwayne faced the most difficult career decision of his life. He was offered the lead role in a major superhero franchise, a commitment that would have required him to film for 6 months in Australia, followed by extensive promotional commitments that would keep him away from home for nearly a year. The financial offer was staggering $50 million upfront plus a percentage of profits that could total over $100 million. It was the kind of opportunity that actors dream about, the type of role that could define a career and set up generational wealth. But it would also mean breaking his promise to Jasmine. The decision kept him awake for nights, weighing the financial security this role could provide his family against the promise he'd made to be present in their lives. Finally, he made a choice that shocked Hollywood. He turned down the role. "I realized," he later explained to a close friend, "that I was being offered the chance to make more money than I could ever spend, but the cost was missing a year of my daughter's childhood. That's not a trade I'm willing to make anymore." The decision cost him the immediate payday, but it led to something more valuable: a reputation in Hollywood as someone whose word meant something, whose priorities were clear, and who could be trusted to make decisions based on principles rather than just profit. This reputation led to opportunities that were even more lucrative and meaningful than the superhero role. Directors and producers began approaching him with projects that were designed to accommodate his family commitments. Brands wanted to partner with him not just because of his fame, but because of the authenticity of his family values. Most importantly, the decision reinforced his relationship with his daughters and showed them that they were truly his priority. Today, Jasmine is older and understands more about her father's career and the choices he's made. In a recent conversation, she told him something that validated every sacrifice he'd made. "Daddy, I know you could make more money if you traveled more and worked all the time. But I'm glad you don't, because having you here makes me feel like I'm worth more than money." The promise Dwayne made to his daughter changed more than just his schedule or his business practices. It changed his definition of success itself. Success was no longer just about achieving goals or accumulating wealth. It became about building a life where professional achievements enhanced rather than competed with personal relationships. It became about creating a legacy that his daughters would be proud of, not just because of what he accomplished, but because of how he accomplished it. The business empire that Dwayne has built since 2018, 7 Bucks Productions, Terramana Tequila, his various partnerships and investments, are all structured around this principle. Every opportunity is evaluated not just for its financial potential, but for its compatibility with his family commitments. This approach has proven to be not just personally fulfilling, but financially successful as well. Since making his promise to Jasmine, Dwayne's net worth has increased by over 300%, proving that success in business and success in family don't have to be mutually exclusive. When young entrepreneurs ask Dwayne for advice about balancing ambition with family life, he always tells them about the night Jasmine asked him if he was like the knight in the story. Your family doesn't need you to be perfect, he explains. They need you to be present. And the beautiful thing is, when you're truly present with the people you love, it makes you better at everything else you do. The handwritten promise in his office has become more than just a personal commitment. It's become a business philosophy, a decision-making framework, and a reminder that the most important success metrics aren't always measured in dollars or awards. Sometimes the most important promise you can make isn't to a business partner or a studio executive. Sometimes it's to a 7-year-old girl who just wants to know that she matters more than any role, any deal, or any opportunity. And sometimes keeping that promise doesn't limit your success, it defines it.